Hi, folks. Welcome to the Community Development Committee meeting for January 18th. We have a few changes today. A couple of our members aren't here, so we'll start with a roll call. Julie, do you want to take us through that?
Jerry Van Someren,
Here.
Ryan Shirley,
Present.
Danny Hansen,
I'm here.
and Sean Anderson and Scott Counter are excused.
And they're excused, that's correct. All right, so let's do the minutes approval. We have two sets of minutes. I suppose you've all read them. Are there any questions or concerns with either? Good, then the minutes for Thursday, December 14 and Tuesday, January 2nd will stand as approved. Before we go any further, I'd like to address the agenda. The agenda's changed a little bit. Item number 1 is scratched. We will be introducing our new Economic Development Director at the February meeting. So the new item number 1, if you're looking at the agenda, is the old item number 3. Then item number 2 continues to be the same. The item number 3 will be review of St. Croix County Comprehensive Plan. And then we are scratching a discussion on zoning district change, the public notice policy, and we are scratching Eckert Blufflands Park entrance and trail cost estimate. And the reason is each one of those was asked to be on the agenda by both Sean Anderson and Scott Counter. And then lastly, we will celebrate a successful meeting by doing the financial report. So, heading into it, do we have any public comment? Is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak? No? Very good. So the first, we have a resolution, Town of St. Joseph rezoning 6 acres, preservation, residential zoning. Who's going to present on that? John is. Very good.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. The first item on the agenda tonight is a rezoning within the Town of St. Joseph. As the committee is aware, the Town of St. Joseph administers their own zoning code. However, statute 60.62 subparent 3 does require that the county review and approve all amendments to town zoning ordinance texts and maps. So that's why we are here tonight with their request. In summary, the proposed rezoning is for 6 acres located in the northern part of the town, and I'll have a location map here in just a moment, adjacent to 144th Avenue in the north central part of the town. The Community Development Department has reviewed the information provided by the town regarding the rezoning and the process and procedures that the town followed, and we would recommend approval of the resolution. Lastly, the town board approved the rezoning on December 14th, 2023, following a notice for public hearing on the 9th of November and continued to December 14th, 2023. Enclosed in your packet tonight was a staff report from the town consultants that kind of summarized the request. But if you look on the map on the overhead, the subject property is in the north central part of the town. It's currently zoned preservation residential, and they are seeking an agricultural residential zoning. As you can see, the current zoning of the property is an island for the rest of the property surrounding it, and they desire to make it consistent with the surrounding property zoning. Also, you'll see that the zoning currently supports the district that requires conditions for plat approval if it were in a natural resource area. And as you can see on the subject property in the blue square, it's primarily being farmed. So it's an agricultural / residential property, and that's the zoning they want to match. The preservation residential, which it's currently zoned, would reflect having wooded areas, wetlands, and sensitive features that would require a different plat approval process. The town determined with the assistance of their consultant that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. You'll see here the proposed rezoning would facilitate a subdivision development. The subject 6 acres are in these upper two left parcels, lots 1 and 2. The remainder of the development is currently zoned correctly to facilitate the 8-acre or the 8-lot subdivision. And just real quickly, from the larger perspective, the location map, you'll see that it's just east of County V within the township and north of County Road E. That concludes the overview, and if there's any questions, I can answer those. But again, staff is recommending approval of the request.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. I think that's all. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No, let's put it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It goes unanimous for approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is our business item number 1, our new business item number 1, which is the old business item number 3, recycling program presentation. Chris Poston. Poston? Am I saying that correct, Chris?
Poston.
Poston, thank you. Have we met you, Chris? Have you been to the committee?
I don't believe I have met you.
I'm Dan.
Dan. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
You bet. And this isn't inappropriate, but I wanted to outreach items that I give away at my presentations.
Completely
Just
appropriate.
a reusable bag that you can put in the dishwasher, and then a magnet with some recycling information on it.
It's very cool. Thank you.
Thank you for your time this evening. I just wanted to give you a little overview of where our recycling program is moving into 2024. So one of the first things that many people in our county don't know is that recycling is actually the law. It's not an option. We have a mandate that says there are certain items that cannot go into the landfill. The first bullet items are things that are commonly picked up in curbside containers or at the small town drop-off centers. And the smaller, the bullets in the second section there are items that still need to be kept out of the landfill, but they are collected through events and take-back programs and those sorts of things. Oops. I see what you're talking about, Julie. Okay, we're gonna try that. Okay, so the recycling program is funded through 2 different grants. One grant comes from the DNR, and that covers 100% of what we call our traditional recycling program. About 50% of that is distributed to 13 of our municipalities, or half of them, that have drop-off centers. And then the other 50% covers outreach efforts, operational costs, and my salary and benefits. The DADCAP grant assists with our Clean Sweep hazardous waste program. We get approximately $16,000 to $20,000 of that, and that's a combination of household hazardous waste, agricultural, and then some years we get a small amendment that goes along with that. The county funds the remaining of that Clean Sweep event. And the event costs over the past 5 years have ranged anywhere from $63,000 to $89,000, a really big difference. These variables include the collected volume that we get from residents, the disposal costs, and the vendors that are available to us. Up until 2 years ago, the closest vendor was out of La Crosse, but now we're fortunate enough to have a vendor out of Somerset, so that's reduced our costs considerably and offered a lot more convenience for our residents. The recycling program is made up of a number of different elements. It's the community and outreach and education, annual collection events. I write the grants that help fund these items. I work with 26 different municipalities, 7 haulers, and then we promote all of our events through websites, mailers, social media, and videos. We focus on recycling, composting, organics reduction, general waste reduction, and environmental stewardship. So I'm going to touch on each of those just briefly. The Community Outreach and Education Program, last year I did 16 presentations and reached approximately 820 people. That doubled from the year before. And I focus on all those topics that we just discussed. We also offer portable recycling bins to residents, businesses, our municipalities. They can check these out for their town festivals, family reunions, and so forth. They're free for people to rent. Last year, 200 of them were checked out. And last year, we sold 90 compost bins and counter pails, and this is to help assist with organics reduction in our county. So we're super excited. We have some new events going on this year. We now have a vendor that will come in and provide free electronics collection events. In the past, residents always had to pay a fee to our vendor to get rid of their electronics. So this year we will have one in the spring and one in the fall, held at one in Hudson, one out in Baldwin, to help for convenience of the different residents. So we're excited to have that started. We will again hold an appliance and a yard equipment collection event through a different vendor, and that cost us at $10 each, which we feel is manageable for most residents. And also new this year, we normally hold a tire collection event, but we are working with the town of Richmond and their recycling center to offer tire collection year-round, and then we're going to subsidize and offer some special pricing during the summer months when people bring in their passenger car and truck tires. So that should be of great value to our residents. We just want to make sure that outside of our collection events, the town of Richmond's recycling center, they open their doors to anyone in the county, and year-round they'll take appliances and electronics and yard equipment and tires, furniture, mattresses, the big bulky items, along with traditional recycling. They also have free scrap metal. So I know sometimes people aren't quite sure where to go with their different items, but this has been a very valuable center that will help anyone else in the county, not just their town residents. Next thing I'm going to talk about is our hazardous waste collection, or what we call Clean Sweep. And new this year, quite often, well, I'm going to back up for a moment. Our Clean Sweep event is traditionally held for 2 days in the fall. We've been doing it kind of a Thursday, Friday. And they've been successful events, and we get a lot of hazardous waste cleaned up out of the county. But with just 2 days, that can be a struggle for people. And if people cannot make the event, they always have the option to go directly to our vendor, Logistics Recycling, who's based out of Somerset. And last year we had 102 residents that brought their hazardous waste directly there. But this year we're going to offer a $25 voucher for the folks that are going to bring their items directly to LRI, or Logistics Recycling, so that we can accommodate more people and not have such a strict 2-day event that doesn't cover everyone's needs. Some other aspects to the program is working with all of the municipalities. So through the grant, we acquire funds for all of their small town recycling programs. I developed an annual report card, which provides an overview and a comparison of the tonnage and the expenses that go along with each of their recycling programs. And we have some statistics on where we fall. The average pounds per person for the county is 144, for the state is 144, and the county is at 148, so we're a little bit above average. And I also partner with the leadership of all these munis, trying to help them to improve their recycling programs and find efficiencies and reduce costs. I also reach out to all of the haulers. We have 7 of them currently in our county, and I reach out to them on an annual basis, not only to get tonnage reports from them, but also to partner with them to have consistent communication and campaigns that go out to the residents. Other parts of our program are mailing information. We have a robust website with an A to Z recycling and disposal guide that helps people find resources for items that don't go in their curbside bins. We have like 35 different topics on there. And again, that also provides all the details on the collection events and different waste reduction practices. We also have libraries for schools, for businesses, and for the municipalities where they can go on there and find resources that are specific to them. We have an active Facebook page, and we have video series that people can review as well. So why are we making all of this effort? It's becoming more and more important that by reducing our waste and increasing our recycling, we're providing cleaner air, cleaner water. We are not using as many natural resources to extract materials, and that extraction process, they say, accounts for about 50% of the total greenhouse gas emissions that we're all trying to fight. The U.S. itself is one of the largest wasteful countries in the country. They figure that 75% of American waste is recyclable, but only 30% of it actually makes it to recycling. So we have a lot of work to do, a lot of education, and that's what our program is about. So thank you for your time, and let me know if you have any questions.
Do we have any questions from the committee? No? That was a very thorough and much appreciated presentation. Thank you, and it's very nice to meet you, and thanks for the goodies. All right, we're going to move on and Jason is going to lead us out in a discussion of county-owned properties near Lake Malibu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this agenda item was per the request of Susan Hauser and Mark Garrity, and I believe they have a presentation and they've handed out some documents and that for you to consider. I would just like to take and mention on the PowerPoint that you just seen with Chris, that she has done a great job in that, trying to look for new program initiatives and trying to provide of greater flexibility of services available to the public. So with those 5 new initiatives that she's going to be pursuing, it'll be an interesting 2024 for the recycling program. So, and with that, I think Mark Garrity is ready to present.
My computer went to sleep, but I'm waking it up, so. There we go. You need to do something here to give them. Right here. Okay, yeah, the map. We need to do the map, so we'll do the video first.
And then the map is here.
The map, it showed up when Jason was moving it. The map was on the packet, apparently. I saw it when you went through.
Okay.
I didn't touch
Oh, that's not it. So let's get going.
Might have been.
I didn't.
Was it the top of the? We moved
Agenda?
the agenda around.
You know, does anybody know what page that map is on? Thank you. Video mark first.
Yes, we'll do the video and then come right to that. So this came flying off. There we go. Just a second. There we go. And here we go. So before I start the video, I just want to say a few things. My name is Mark Garrity. I'm with the Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition, and Susan Heiser and Ben Heiser are here. None of this would have been possible without Susan. And but first off, we were here 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, when we were attempting to get a resolution passed from the county and the city of Hudson and the village of North Hudson. And the purpose of that was to get the National Park Service involved with their River Trails Conservancy Assistance Program, which was, they were going to facilitate and help with planning of this project, or if there would be a project. But, and when I was here, and after all the years that I've spent in this building, it was the first time that I saw on the back wall, and it's on your agenda, that has been my goal through this whole thing, because of we have the city, the village, and the county involved, and it's innovation through cooperation. That's what it says on the banner underneath St. Croix County. That's been my goal through this whole thing, and we've been at it now 5 years. Brett Budrow and I spoke 5 years ago this week when this property became available. I also looked at the mission here tonight, the first time I'd seen that we will strengthen our social and economic future by
Hey,
providing
Mark?
health, safety, and well-being for all.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Speak a little closer to the microphone. That way it makes a better archive.
Okay? So, you've got it on the wall. I'm not going to repeat that, but it's, so what you're going to see here is a video that we took 2 years ago when we were preparing for this. This is a drone that was done by the River Channel folks for us under contract, and we'll follow it up with the map, and then we have some pictures. But it shows specifically the property that you own in conjunction with, and whether it's as joint tenants, and I'm assuming it is, but it's ownership with the city, the village, and the county. So as this picture starts at the intersection of Galahad and Wisconsin Street, looking to the south along what at that time was the Union Pacific property, and it flies right over that property, over the dam where you have a cooperative agreement with the city, the village, the city, the village, and the town of Hudson, and it then proceeds on over the old Union Pacific property that is now owned by Bruce Lenzen. He purchased it on the 23rd of February last year. And so and this just gives you a true idea where it's located and what it involves. So. And that's the Hudson Dam. Property to the right is the condominiums. The Drebnick property is to the left. It's property. Right below the picture here is owned by City Village County. To the left, City Village County along the river. Here's the dam that you have the cooperative agreement with, the trestle. The property along the riverfront here is owned by City Village County. Immediately to the left on the curve of the road here, up to this little dam, is owned by the county. The Lenzen property is 100 feet wide. And that property ends just about at the right here. And then looking off into the distance is St. Croix Street in Hudson, which is the XL property. And that's the, so that would all be part of any plan in the future. So, you want me to run through that again, or are you familiar with it? Okay, heads are shaking. All right. So, I do have a couple other pictures, if that's okay.
On here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. So with, should drop that. So we also, without getting into the map real quick, you have in front of you the, which is the fact sheet. And the fact sheet is a summary that we have put together. This is the basin itself. And if I can approach, and I'll talk real loud. You own 1/3 of that whole embankment. Okay? That's about 8 lots, city lots, that are owned with the city, village, county, off Bridge Street, North Street, in the city of Hudson. This is owned, where I'm pointing, is along Bridge Street, that's by the city of Hudson. This property up here is yours alone, 100-foot strip in the middle, and then City Village County has the whole pavement. Over on the other side over there, same condominium up to that is City Village County property. So that's why what we're looking for, you have the fact sheet which lays out what we've done. And so the plan has been all the way through this with cooperation, and we've been under the umbrella that the property was purchased literally, or that the offer was made approximately 2 days before we started meeting with the RTCA. And so as a result of that, Mr. Lenzen, his plan is to have a residential property there. He's done studies of the dam and properties, excuse me. And so it's a matter of, we have been working on, as outlined in the fact sheet, and that's the document you have, which is prepared, and I'm going fast here. But the fact sheet lays out what our mission is through this. And it's working with cooperation of the municipal entities involved, and also trying to come up with an idea for this property, which is quite historic. This was the confluence of the Willow and the St. Croix River. The two dams were created, the Bridge Street was created, the flowage was through here. This is where the Native Americans wintered. And because that's where the flowage of the water was. They came to the open water, and everything else, of course, freezes up in this time of year. So this was very important. In the north end, on the far end, you can see in the distance there, the old North Hudson shops. These were where they constructed railroad cars, Pullman cars. They had a foundry, they had a sewing shop, a wood shop, etc., and it employed a lot of immigrants. It opened in 1873 when you had a big flood of folks coming in. That my wife's great-grandfather worked there as a Norwegian immigrant, and then her grandfather, it was a situation that they ran through the families. So the fact sheet truly lays it out, what we have done. It also, on the back, talks specifically about what our goals are for this, and that is to specifically have a park here on the water, and that would include the trestle, and Mr. Lenzen owns the trestle. He bought 5 acres, which was the Union Pacific property. It's 100 feet wide from Wisconsin Street up to right below where this picture is taken, and that's the right-of-way of the Union Pacific Railroad on the south. The big thing about this is that he has told us that he intends to have this bridge set up for a trail. So it's a matter of, he's done dive studies. We haven't had the final meeting with him yet to lay that out. I've been told by his attorney, Ryan Carey, that that's coming, but he's very much in favor. But his message to you is he wants all 3 parties working together. Doesn't mean you're paying for anything yet, but at least work together, because you are the property owners that are adjacent to his property. And that's the purpose of one reason we're here tonight, is to ask you to please cooperate, to at least come and listen and see what can be done. So the fact sheet, without getting into it, I would ask that you please spend time and read it. A lot of work went into it. The number 2, and I'm moving along here, the map of the parcels. So if we can shut off this one. Do I push a button, Julie, or you'll do that? Okay, so HDMI. I didn't push it hard enough, apparently. Okay, so the map itself, and this is important, you have it in your packet, and okay.
There you go.
Thank you. So the map is truly important, because that breaks down, and this was prepared by your office, Community Development. Mr. Budrow was involved in that, and thanks to him for doing all this. And there's been another one that took into account other issues on it, but this is the basic map. So you look at, starting at the north side, city, village, county, then the dam itself, the agreement that is there, dropping down. And so that's why we've continued to go on this and try to keep everyone advised. The village and the city, we met with the city on Tuesday, and we've met with the city, the new administrator up in North Hudson last month, and brought her up to speed as to all of the things that are going on here. And now you have the materials. And this is truly a situation where this map, and it's been, it is the lifeblood of this project. And so what that brings us then to, so you take a look at that. You have the fact sheet, or excuse me, the summary sheet that is there, the alternative trail plan. So what has been talked about and what we've worked on now for a year, we've been meeting with the RTCA since July 12th, I believe it was, of 2022. And then last year, in January, we had a meeting where we broke out as to what are the wants and desires for this property. And that laid out, and this is everything south of the trestle, and that took into account the Lenzen property, but we have worked out plans around it essentially for a park on the river with an overlook. Mr. Shirley.
Can you just point on the map where the Lenzen property actually is?
Yes.
And where his access in is?
If you use the arrow here, they can see it. So you can, so you can talk into the microphone.
I used to deal with court reporters, so the Lenzen property where it says Union Pacific Railroad, that's the Lenzen property. So here's the intersection of Galahad and Wisconsin where I'm pointing, and then coming down on the with the Lake Malibu property and the East Bank in between them, and then across the trestle. Oh, it moved. Nope, brought it back. I won't touch that wheel. And so the trestle, and then onto the property, and that jags a little bit to the west right there, and that comes down all the way to the right-of-way of the active rail line. And so his intent is to put in housing there.
Mark, does he intend to put in housing on the south side of the trestle?
That's what we've been told, but we have not seen any plans, and it's a matter of I'm not here for him. So what I'm looking at specifically, that we would have a trail that would come through the property as I'm doing with the arrow, onto the trestle, across the trestle, and then there was talk about having a trail through it, et cetera, but with his property there, the idea is, because this is going to have to be improved with work down there, is to upgrade the road that sits. That's the road you saw that you own. That's the eastern side of that isthmus, and then have that come across. We would go all the way up the hill, and there's going to have to be some work. That's where the sheet is here with cost estimates that was done by a trail designer by the name of Warren White from St. Croix Falls. He's a retired professional engineer. And the idea is, of the plan itself, is that it would come up here and then cross the railroad line. We would have to get permission as an at-grade crossing with the Union Pacific. Now, that's again why the cooperation of the entities is so important. This is all in the city of Hudson. We met with Mr. Johnson, Mr. Mraz, their engineer, and the planner on Tuesday, along with Pat Casanova, the head of the park board, or the chairman. And so the idea is, if they can talk to the Union Pacific, I have made many phone calls to Wacker Drive in Chicago, to their real estate office, and no return phone calls. I'm assuming that they will talk to somebody from the city of Hudson, because that's where the property is located, about, we're just seeing, is it possible? Because there's a lot of process that goes in to having at-grade. We have the defense in this county that Union Pacific has a lot of at-grade crossings on highways. And there's a bridge right next to it where this arrow sits, the crossing on 2nd Street. The trail then would come through this property, which is this area where I'm pointing is all owned by the city. It would come out onto Division Street, and then there's a bike lane there, put it onto the lane for 1 week, one block, up to River Street then to the property that is owned by the Union Pacific, XL Energy, which is an old substation that was down on St. Croix Street, and the river. And that is now, it's Brown Lands, it's been reclaimed, and they are interested in helping us out on this, running a trail across that property. So that's a big, that's giving you an overview quickly. Again, I'm trying to keep it to my 10 minutes. I probably overwent that. So any other questions about what we're doing? What I am asking for, and Brett has been part of the committee, but I understand we have new assignments or whatever, but I would ask that we can have someone who will report here to let you know what we're doing to keep you up to speed because you're a property owner there. And so something has to be worked out with Lenzen to make sure that he will come with plans. We're talking about a trail. And this would not be the trailhead. This would be coming through in a park over on this side, down in the basin area. We've got plans laid out. We will see more on Monday night as to what the cost is. We have, and again, this has been no cost. It's through a federal grant with no payback. But we have estimates coming from a landscape architect as to what the amenities, pit toilet, this type of thing. And that would be, this part of it sits in the city of Hudson. What's really important with that map is this line. That's the center line as determined on this map of the Willow River. Anything to the west of that line is Village of North Hudson. Everything east is City of Hudson. So the project itself, where the trestle is, that's all in the village, and that's where it's going to take work, again, cooperating between the entities with the Village of North Hudson, how this is going to be done. When we first started it, it was talked about as a regional park. So the anticipating things down the road, we also have provided you with materials regarding tourism in the St. Croix Valley, which is this was released last spring, but it was in the printout from the December newsletter of the Department of Outdoor Recreation, and also Andrew Nussbaum, when he did his presentation in October at the seminar that was an update sponsored by the county, was part of that, EDC, Hudson Chamber of Commerce, and the Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition. I'm zipping through real quick. The big one is, it's a $9 billion industry, outdoor recreation. And outdoor recreation. The next is, what is so important to us, is St. Croix County. These are the 2022 numbers. That St. Croix County, the impact of tourism, not just outdoor tourism, but this is tourism. This is hockey tournaments, outdoor, the bicycle thing in Richmond, the hot air fair in Hudson, and the boat cruises, whatever it is. But it was $208 million in 2022 that this county received as a result of, or it was the impact, excuse me, not received. Polk County, 156, and Pierce County, 59. So that's why this is so important with bicycle tourism and pedestrians, people walking, again, to the mission of health and safety for the future. That's why this project, to be very blunt, this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and it's the equivalent of a Brookmos Park on Hudson or a Mary's Park in Richmond, and I can go through the list. But it's very, very important. I would ask for, as we did at the EDC meeting last week, for your engagement, that if you can at least please keep an open mind, look at this as far as we have no idea right now. I don't believe that we're talking a lot of money for you. It's a matter of your cooperation with Lenzen to be able to build this, and with the cooperation, because you do own that lakefront, you own both north of the dam and south of the dam. So, questions? I truly appreciate you letting us come in today. Yes, sir.
I have one question. You talked about the importance of the crossing of the railroad track. If that would not happen, would the whole plan be scrapped, or what would be? Do you have an alternate? Because I've dealt with railroads in the past, and there's a reason they don't call you back, because they don't want to talk to you.
I know. And in my former profession, I dealt with railroads also. And but I don't think it scullies everything, but it hobbles us somewhat. The first plan had been to go underneath the active rail line, because this is a beautiful section in here. There's old foundations, et cetera, that we would come in and put, similar to the bridges that are out at Willow River State Park, they cross the Burkebiner Trail up at Hayward. They come in on two semis, and they put them in by a crane, that we would have that run underneath. The plan that you have there, that sheet, has us come up this way because we would have to go underneath, and again, there's lines here on this map that show the right-of-way, because as I understand the railroad right-of-way, it's 100 feet from the center line out. And so that's why we're dealing with a situation here. We would have to have that trail always in the right-of-way, and it's a matter of we don't want to have just permission. Yes, you're here, then next year we're gone. Plus, we would have to build dockage, et cetera, to get us up. And this whole area along here, which is owned by the city of Hudson, and then you've got all these parcels, and then the argument's going to be, do I go to the river or not with my parcel? And there's potential litigation. But we also have ravines all the way through here, and the estimate, just like you have, for what the ground would be was in excess of $1 million, because we were looking at bridges coming in to go over those ravines. And that may be a phase down the road, many years, but to get us up on from the idea being to connect the two bridges, Interstate Bridge at Hudson and the crossing bridge at Stillwater, and using the right-of-way up Highway 35, and there's no eminent domain involved. We're within the right-of-way to get that trail up there. So, and again, as it says in the fact sheet, we're running out of time here because 2025, much of the federal funds that are available for infrastructure, et cetera, are drying up. We also have the Congressional Discretionary Fund, which requires filings by, I believe it's the 31st of March. And it's a situation, we approached them about this, but we weren't shovel-ready with it. And they were very interested, and they were the same, that's the same one that gave the St. Croix Valley Food Bank $4.2 million. That's the discretionary funds. So the hope is we could get something like this. Again, cooperation of all the people. Any other questions?
Tell me about the condition of the trestle bridge and who's going to pay to.
Trestle, that is going to be paid for by whether we have to have a fundraising campaign, but Mr. Lenzen has said he's planning on having that ready. He's doing studies. I haven't seen it yet. I know some of the people that did the study, but it's a matter that we're not talking about totally ripping out. It's a matter of bringing in, similar to other bridges that I've seen in the area where bikes have gone over. So you're setting it up for at least for probably a 5-ton or 10-ton bridge, so you can put a pickup truck and clean these things up if we need to. So that's, again, we had estimates done on that in the summer of '21, and out of an outfit out of American Bridge, out of Colfax, and it was an unofficial go out, take a look at it, what do you think it'd cost? And we were at about $1 million to put that, a cap on top of the structure that is there. The original structure, and that goes back to 1873, when that first bridge was put in. And again, it would be not just bikes. We're talking having it available when the Pelicans show up here in the first week of April or thereabouts. It's been that the last few years. The photographers are down there. The people are coming from the cities to see the Pelicans. And same thing with the waterfowl. And we're a bird city in Hudson, as well as a tree city. So, and we were told that, and I called Brett about this, that the property along the river, that they had 13 representatives from the National Park Service here, and one of them is quite excited about the stand of black locust. Didn't know it existed, but black locust trees along there. He said he's got somebody down in Viroqua that will take the wood. It's apparently worth a whole bunch of money. So you have a 1/3 interest in the black locust forest. So
Maybe it's worth preserving.
it could be.
So is there a tally sheet? I see something that's dated June 25, 2023 with a number of $296,000. Is that, who put this together and
That's the Warren White parcel, or the Warren White work that was done specifically dealing with the cost of the trestle. He has also laid out, this is his map or his professional document, is about 20 pages in that range, that he breaks it down by A through H, I believe it is, of segments of the trail. He actually starts at St. Croix Street with the end of the lakefront trail that runs along Lakefront Park, and then bringing it to the north and going across. So he's been heavily involved with the Gandy Dancer, with St. Croix Falls, with over in Schaefer at the Immigrants Trail in Minnesota, but he is now retired, so there would have to be, someone. We were trying to get together to at least what's it going to cost, and so that's again in the city. That's going to be, the project itself, but that's in the city. It's not on the county property.
Mark, I truly appreciate your time. Thank you for everything you do for our community.
You bet. So thank you again. And
Thank you. Susan, thank you for coming. We're going to move on to business item, which is now business item number 3, review of St. Croix County Comprehensive Plan, which is going to be led by who?
Me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just really an agenda placeholder. The committee met last Thursday night, of course, and that was our last work group on the update of the comprehensive plan. In the packet, there is a link to the county's website where all the comprehensive plan documents can be found, along with a memo, which I provided a hard copy to each one of the committee members, and that's the same memo as I provided electronically as well. And so we don't, to prevent having multiple versions out there for the public, this memo, and that includes all the changes from when the CDC reviewed the chapter up until the 12th, which would have been last Friday when we had to have it published publicly before the public hearing, so we needed a 30-day notice for that. And so any other changes in that would be presented to you at the public hearing. We have received some comments from the St. Croix EDC, and so those are the bulk of it, unless staff found maybe a formatting change or something like that coming forward. That's all I've got on that agenda topic.
Well, thank you for your brevity. Do we have any questions, gentlemen? All right. Well, does anybody have a snare drum? Because I'd love to hear a drum roll. Financial report.
All right, so the financial report in the packet reflects the end of the year preliminarily. So the big thing that's still going to be posted yet is the first couple of payrolls. We do an accrual basis accounting, so when it's earned in December, it doesn't get paid till January, so we have to do a journal entry to book it back into the year. So that hasn't occurred yet. So there will be some additional labor costs. Most of the other expenses are wrapped up. We will see a few more grants coming in yet, and then there are a few expenses that wrap up. So how I'm going to look at these, and I'll go through them quickly, is the Parks Department. So we're going to take a look at the bottom of the column, the third one from the right. So this has a black $26,745. So that's the Parks Department. So that means they're in the black. That's good. They had more revenues than they had expenses. The revenues were way over. We'd actually anticipated for 2023 of using $50,000 in fund balance, so we were kind of expecting to see up to a negative $50,000 or a red number there, and the fact that they're in the black means they're that far ahead. Fairgrounds, they're at 0. We can move on from them. UW Extension, they have a black $28,000. That's mostly contract services. They had some vacancies during the year, so they didn't end up spending all of the money we budgeted there. Resource, Land, and Water, you see a red 87,000.
Tim, can I go back to Extension? Do we retain that 28,000 then?
Yeah, that is the county's money. That's retained by the county in the general fund.
Thank you.
Resource, Land, and Water, the negative 87. So we budgeted, though, $100,000 fund balance applied, so we thought we would have a negative $100,000 number. because they have funds within that segregated fund to use. They only ended up using 87. There'll be some more wage and benefits. They'll probably be actually pretty close to that 100 at the end. But right on target for where we would expect them to be. So planning and records, they're negative 40,000. So we had not planned on them in 2023 being negative. What it was land record retained fees really only came in at about half of what we thought they would be. In the 2024 budget, we are using fund balance to balance this because we don't expect that to bounce back real fast.
So then, will that smooth out in 25 then? Level off, or do we have any way of predicting that?
No. If you tell me how the economy would be in 2024 and 2025, then I'd tell you, but
Yeah, I left the
I think it's
crystal
just
ball
too
in
far
front.
out to know.
Okay.
So, the zoning department, we have a 99,000 in the black. Economic development, $665, and that's all of them. So, you know, really overall, if you look at them in whole, because that's really how we look at the county, everything's doing pretty good. So, everyone's happy.
If you're happy, I'm happy. Excellent. Well, thank you, Ken.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions, comments, complaints? Wonderful. Thank you so much. That brings me to the back of my agenda, the department update.
I only got three things. I'd like to welcome Caitlin Volk to our land use team. Her first day as a land use tech one was on January 8th. Our staff had our kickoff meeting for the Glen Hills Capital Improvement Project last week, so the design work is started for that. And we've been working, John and I, with the Highway 35 trail and requesting the funds from the DOT and contract signing for that project to move forward on time. So that's all I've got.
What's Caitlin's job title?
A land use technician 1.
Excellent.
So,
We'll welcome her when we meet her.
and so she was filling Reed Junko's position, and Reed left August 4th. So.
Cool. Have to stop over there and say hi. Maybe they'll have coffee. All right. Announcements and correspondence. Anybody? Alrighty. Requests for future agenda items. Of course, we will. I was just going to mention that we'll put the 2 agenda items on that we removed from, or 3 agenda items on that we removed from today. The introduction of the EDC Development Director and the discussion of the zoning district change public notice policy and Eckerd Blufflands Park entrance and trail cost estimate all go back on the agenda at the next meeting, and whatever it is that Jerry wants to say.
Oh, that's, gonna say, you got those, don't forget these things here. You got it.
Great minds. Okay, date of the next meeting is Thursday, February 15th. That's our regular meeting, and I don't think we have a special one planned. When's the open house?
The open house is February 8th at 5 o'clock.
February 8th at 5 o'clock, and here's where I wish I had a great big wooden mallet, because I would adjourn the meeting with that. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.